Honorable members, guests, will you please remain standing? And I will now ask for the rendering of the national anthem by the choir of the Mitchells Playing Music Academy. Thank you very much. Over to you, Music Academy.
South Africa, South Africa. Ay di blauwvan ons hemel, ay die diepte van ons Heer. Waar ons ewige gebergtes, waar die kranse antwoord gee. Sounds a call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Thank you. You may all be seated, honorable members. Honorable members, guests, I would like to request that you rise again for prayer. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and will promote the interest of the people. Almachtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe sever sal hou en dat u ons sal help om ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelela Nkosi ilizwe lethu nabantu balo. Umisele ukulunga Nkosi kwiphondo lethu. Nkosi sikelela iAfrika. Gcina abantwana bayo. Khokhela Nkosi inkokheli zayo. Yinike uxolo Nkosi iAfrika. All this we beg in your most holy name. Amen. You may now all be seated. Honorable members, Premier, I would like to request members to rise in their places and observe a moment of silence on the passing of Joseph Shabalala, an icon and a gigantic man of our people, a founder of Ladysmith Black Mambazo. The flags will now be lowered to half-mast. Honorable members and guests, we have also just been informed this morning that the body of Miss Tasneef van Wyk was found I would like to extend our sincere condolences to the Van Wyk and Manuel family. Honorable members and guests, I would like to equally extend our heartfelt condolences to all gender-based violence victims, and equally to all other victims of crime in our province, and say to all of them, our hearts and minds are with you and your families. May your soul rest in peace. Let us rise and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Order. Our guests, honorable members, and our special guest, Honorable the Premier. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the State of the Province address that is held in Rocklands Civic Center in Mitchell's Plain. Please note that for the sitting, the standing rules of the House will apply. Further, in compliance with the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2004, this entire hall here, including all visitor sitting areas, passages, and ablution facilities, will be regarded as the precinct of the Provincial Parliament. So you are in Parliament here. Before we proceed, I would like to make some comments about logistical arrangements. The use of audio controls, members must switch their microphones, and if they do so, they will be recognized by the chair and switch them off when they are done, so that we are done with you and recognize the next person whose microphone is on. So the translation is via the infrared service on the desk. If you look around in front of you, there is the translation services there, honorable members. And each honorable member should have a separate infrared device on desk, as well as the earpiece using the channel selection buttons. So for Africans, you select channel number 1, which is Afrikaans to English. And for isiXhosa to English, you select channel number 2, Ngutyana. For Afrikaans to isiXhosa, you select number 3. I hope that is in order with all of you honorable members. So on the right of the unit are the channel controls, and on the left are the volume controls. So you don't rise and say, order, speaker, I don't find volume. And members, please note, the services officers are seated at the back of the entrance hall. So at the back, the service officers are there should you need any help and support as we proceed. Now, let me get to the further business. I have to announce that in terms of Rule 14 of the standing rules, today, the 20th of January 2020, at 11 o'clock, has been determined as the date and time for the Premier State of the Province address. This sitting is meant specifically for that purpose, of affording the Premier an opportunity to deliver the State of the Province address to the people of this province. On this occasion, there will be no other business, but the Premier will be entertained for this purpose to deliver his message. I also wish to remind members, honorable members, that the debate on SOPA, which is on the address by the Premier, will take place tomorrow the 21st of February, when we have an opportunity to fully engage and debate the Premier's address, and the Premier will reply thereafter. Honorable members, guests, let me thank the people of Mitchell's Plain and the people of the Western Cape for their support, but equally the staff members of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Premier, honorable members. They had sleepless nights. They are all here who have been supporting us. Can we please put our hands together for them? I will now, honorable members, guests, I will now afford the opportunity to the Premier of the Western Cape, Honorable Alan Winde, to give us his State of the Province address.
Good morning, Morweni, goeiemorgen. Members and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do the protocol a little bit differently today. So I'm going to start with residents of Mitchell's Plain. Yes. Residents of Mitchell's Plain and surrounds. All citizens of the Western Cape, special guests, community leaders, religious leaders, police service leaders, Honourable Speaker, honourable members of the Provincial Cabinet and of this legislature, members of the Consular Corps, honourable leaders of political parties and members of the National Assembly and National Council of Provinces, Director General and heads of provincial departments, leaders of local government, colleagues, friends, and family. Wow, it is fantastic to be here in Mitchell's Plain. Yes, you can do that. It is fantastic to be here in Mitchell's Plain today. And I know, and something I want to repeat was a WhatsApp message I saw yesterday, or last night actually, that said, it's interesting, the hairdressers of Mitchell's Plain seem to be staying open a little bit later tonight. And I know from the Deputy Speaker that the hairdressers seem to open a little bit earlier this morning. I think that says it all for Mitchell's Plain. It is an honor to be delivering my State of the Province address in front of this community, and it is a special honor to be delivering it in this venue. The Rockland Civic Centre is no stranger to historic events. It was here that the United Democratic Front rose up against the evils of apartheid. It was here that the people of all walks of life united behind the idea of a democratic South Africa in which everyone would be free. Over the years, thousands of people have entered through those doors for community programs, important discussions for weddings and celebrations. There is no better place than this, a provincial heritage site, for us to host this historic SOPA, the first SOPA outside the provincial parliament, right here in one of our communities. Yeah. So, Speaker, let's get down to business of this House, which is for me to reflect on what we have delivered to date and to lay out our delivery priorities for the future to our audience here today and across the province. When I delivered my first SOPA in July last year, we vowed to get to work. And over the past 7 months, we have certainly done just that. Since being elected, I have visited dozens of communities. I have met with thousands of citizens, and we have received tens of thousands of mails, texts, and calls telling us what you want and what you need. We have heard you. You don't want smart cities and bullet trains. You want working cities and normal trains that get you to where you need to be safely and on time. You want a government that focuses on getting the basics right, and actually delivers. You asked us to act against corruption because things like state capture have sucked money away from service delivery and crippled our state-owned enterprises. We have delivered. In January, I instituted lifestyle audits for all members of my cabinet, and they are being conducted as we speak. And while I expect that they will all come back clean, if not, I will act. You called on us to stop spending on frills and fancy cars because you wanted your taxes to be spent for you. We have delivered. Through a second review of the Provincial Ministerial Handbook, we have created even further savings on top of the hundreds of millions that have already been saved in the last 10 years. Speaker, the residents of Grabo told us that they need longer clinic operating hours because they had to travel to Caledon if there was an emergency at night. We have delivered. The local clinic now operates 24/7, and what's more, its facilities are being upgraded. You told us your families are not safe because drugs, gangs, gender-based violence are tearing them apart. With less than 4 months of taking office, we have delivered. In September, we launched a comprehensive province-wide safety plan aimed at halving the murder rate. You asked us for a government that is accessible because you are sick and tired of being pushed around or being pushed from pillar to post. In the Western Cape, where we govern, we have delivered. We now host Open Government First Thursdays, where every cabinet member and senior government official is available every first Thursday of every month. And since our first event in August last year, we've held 1,244 meetings with residents and have resolved 80% of all the matters raised with us. You called on us to focus on cutting red tape because it's holding back your businesses. We are delivering. In August last year, we launched a pilot economic war room, which has brought city and officials and the private sector together on a weekly basis to address burning problems using this world-class methodology. And I have more to announce in this regard a bit later. You shared your dreams of the best possible education for your children because you know that education is the surest path out of poverty. We have delivered. Through the hard work of our education officials, teachers, and learners across our province, the pass rate in our government schools went up. Spine Road High School, just a kilometre away from us, achieved a 99% matric pass rate. You asked us to focus on jobs because you want a better life and a better future. We have delivered. In the national government stats released last week, it was announced that the Western Cape created 24,000 new jobs for the quarter, more than half the net jobs achieved in our country. We are South Africa's jobs province. I want to say that again. This province, the businesses in this province, created more jobs than all of the other provinces put together. Speaker, we did this all in just 7 months because delivering services to you is our #1 priority. And because we know there is more to do, we will not stop until the job is done. In every meeting I attend, whether it be with you here in Mitchell's Plain, as I did last Saturday, or with investors, with diplomats, with members of the national executive, the police, or the president of our country. I am fighting for you, the people of the Western Cape. Now, in saying this, I also have to be frank with you. South Africa is in bad shape. Last week, we heard from the President that youth unemployment is at an all-time high. Youth unemployment is a ticking time bomb in our system, and we have to recognize that and deal with it. Fewer jobs also mean less tax money, which means budget cuts to specifically health and education departments across our country. We also know that our energy grid is beyond breaking point. The truth is, load shedding is most likely to stay for the next 5 years. And that is if Eskom has any hope of completing the critical maintenance work that it needs to do. We are facing the potential of stage 4 and 6 load shedding this winter, and even more next winter and the winter after that. And we know that growing urban populations are radically increasing the demand for energy, as well as for affordable housing, safety solutions, and service delivery. As government, we want to treat these challenges as opportunities, to change the way we do things, to innovate, to push the boundaries of what is possible. But Speaker, we have also learned that we don't have all the answers nor the capacity to do things alone. That is why we have partnered with both local and national governments on critical projects, forsaking politics and agendas to pool resources, to tap expertise, to really deliver to you, the citizen. In fact, everything I do starts with you in mind first. The Western Cape Safety Plan is a prime example of this. In every engagement I have had with residents and business owners across the province, crime and safety was raised as their number one concern. I have heard you and made this my number one priority. And Speaker, thank you for recognizing Tasneem this morning. In the mornings when I get those early morning calls of another young body being found, that is what pains me, that's what keeps me awake at night. And that is why this is our biggest priority. Our safety plan, which I spoke about earlier, this is the biggest provincial safety plan delivered in this country and focuses on increasing boots on the ground and reducing violence in our homes, in our schools, against women and children, between friends, and on our streets. In partnership with Mayor Dan Plato and the City of Cape Town, we have already deployed the first 500 of 3,000 new law enforcement officers into our most crime-ridden communities. I heard that here, Minister Fritz, and that made me think of 2 Sundays ago when I stood there alongside you and the Mayor in the Athlone Stadium, and I watched those men and women march into that stadium, the first 500 of these law enforcement officers. I got goosebumps, I don't know about you. But what really gave me goosebumps was looking at the mothers and fathers, the children, the grannies, who looked on their family members, on those men and women with pride. And those men and women putting up their hand to help us make a difference, to help us become a safe society. And I salute them. A small number of these same officers were part of the procession that you witnessed earlier today, which demonstrated the tremendous might of all the men and women of this city and province who are keeping us safe every day. We all witnessed them, and I thank you. I thank them absolutely. Now I'd like to speak here about the South African Police Service. The fact that we don't have enough we don't have enough men and women in blue assigned to our province. The police's own stats prove that. That is why we need to bolster our own safety services. But we are adamant that our personnel will work in cooperation, hand in hand, with our new police commissioner, Lieutenant General Yulisa Matakata, under her command. And when we met earlier this year, I made a promise to her. I said to her that we will support her in everything that she does. I said to her that she has the full support of myself and my entire cabinet. Because we need to give her that support. And I call on the other political leaders in this House to do exactly the same. She has a really tough job, and under her leadership, we will support her in making sure that we will do anything and everything in our power to make this a safe province. I also want to say to the Minister, Becky Cele, for following through on his commitment to boost the number of police officers in our province by adding another 1,100 new police officers that took up their posts in this province earlier this year. In terms of violence prevention, every department of the Western Cape has been allocated a safety priority. These interventions are designed to ensure that our children grow up healthy, loving and nurturing environments, cared for responsibly, and not placed in situations in which they are exposed to harm. That schools are safe spaces for learning the curriculum, but also learning to interact with others. That our neighborhoods are places where people want to live and feel safe. That people have opportunities so that they do not even contemplate turning to a life of crime. So that men and boys can develop appropriate responses to anger, disappointment, and rejection. In this way, over time, we will be able to build a society in which violence is not our first response. Speaker, last year I attended the March to Parliament against gender-based violence. There, thousands of women told us that men and the government of this country are not doing enough to keep them safe. We heard women say that gender-based violence only becomes a topic of conversation for 16 days of the year. And up until now, they have been right. We are standing up to this problem head-on, every single day through the introduction of a 365 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence. And as part of the safety plan, for the first time in the history of the province, the Social Development Department has been tasked to design a performance indicator which will measure how they address gender-based violence over our term and in government. And Minister Fernandes, can I thank you for taking that lead? I believe that only 3 weeks ago at Lentegeur, you held a workshop, and out of that workshop was requested a portal, and I can announce here today that we already have a direct portal to deal with any issue around gender-based violence. It is GBV365 at westerncape.gov.za. Thank you very much for kicking that off, Minister. Because violence is so complex, and because we want public funds to be spent on interventions that have the most impact in making people's lives safer, all of our safety plan decisions will be informed by data and evidence, and will focus first on crime where it is worst. We will not be afraid to adapt and change if our data and evidence shows that we can do better elsewhere. To drive up accountability, I have established a special safety cabinet, which is meeting every 6 weeks to report back on what work has been done and what has been achieved. I am pleased to announce that the first safety cabinet was held yesterday and was attended by, amongst others, the City, South African Police Services, along with the Provincial Commissioner, Correctional Services, the Department of Justice. No provincial government has ever taken its role in reducing violence so seriously, and we are pleased to have strong partners around the table who share in our mission. I'd like to go into a bit of detail here on just one of the priorities we are focusing, radically boosting the Chrysalis Academy. You actually saw some of the Chrysalis Academy students marching past also earlier today. Chrysalis is a live-in leadership development program aimed at empowering our most at-risk young people to become self-confident, economically active role models within their communities. It is worthy of more investment, and in its 20-year history, it has played a role in transforming the lives of thousands of young adults. People like Jodrick Veltman, who grew up in Hanover Park, a community which struggles daily against violence and gangs. And as a youngster, Jodrick had no clear direction, and without strong role models or a sense of belonging, he says the temptation to join a gang was strong. Then the opportunity came along. He seized the chance to become one of the Chrysalis Academy 08 Delta Group, where for 3 months he learned to work in a team. He met people from all walks of life, and he developed skills that would set his life on a new path. And what a path it has been. After Chrysalis, Jodrick went to work for an organization called Community Action Towards a Safer Environment, or CASE. This after-school program teaches life skills and leadership to young people in the community. Jodrick worked hard, and his dedication helped him to land a 6-month youth volunteer exchange program in Canada. He also received training at UWC on how to work with youth on drugs. Jodrick has now started his own NGO using the skills he learned at Chrysalis and afterwards to help young people in his community. I think the impact that Chrysalis has on the lives of young people is best summed up in Jodrick's own words when he says, "I am proud to say I am the role model I lacked as a young man growing up on the Cape Flats." That is the power of Chrysalis, and it takes some of our most vulnerable young people and it gives them the tools they need not only to change themselves, but also positively influence the lives of others for years after they leave. And now, in addition to ramping it up, our Minister of Economic Opportunities has come on board and offered paid work placements to all of its graduates. And this is not an announcement, because I saw in the week some of those students actually going out, partnering with businesses and companies and finding spaces to offer them a future. Speaker, reducing violence is not the job of the government alone. There are some people in our community who are making an equally big impact in this space. People like Masiphumelele-born Apish Chechesha from Waves of Change, who is here today, I think. But Apish, to date, Apish has helped over 1,300 vulnerable children from unstable communities to break the cycle of violence in their lives through his award-winning surf therapy program focused on teaching kids to cope with stress, regulate their behavior, build healing relationships, and make positive life choices. He and so many organizations like the one he leads are our partners in delivering the behavioral change that we need to make our province safer for everyone who lives in it. Could have kept that going a bit longer. I could have had a longer sip. But Speaker, safety has an impact on everything we do in this province. It impacts on our ability to grow the economy. It is a vicious cycle, and when the economy is down and jobs are scarce, it creates fertile ground for violence to flourish. But we also know that the majority of people do not hunger after a life of crime. Our residents are hungry for opportunity. And there can be so much more of it in every community, town and region across our province, if we get our approach to economic growth right. Our job must be to help the private sector create the jobs we need, to be a partner and not an obstacle in addressing this important challenge. We have shown through many programs that when we act in this way, we are successful in creating the opportunities that our citizens need to build a life that they truly value. I'm particularly proud of the Premier's Advancement of Youth Internship Program. It was established with one clear objective in mind: to help young unemployed people get on-the-job training and experience that they need to find a job in the private sector, and which in turn helps the private sector expand. This year, we received 8,644 applications and managed to offer a record 1,118 places on this program. To those who did not get in this round, I say, do not give up trying. There are many other opportunities out there, many other programs. Just keep going. Speaker, next year, I want this number to be even greater still, because every placement opens the door to opportunity. There are many more examples like this, from small business support to investment facilitation, from Cape Town air access, making it easier for tourists to visit our province, to our export advancement program that keeps our local and small businesses able to sell their products across the world. Our partnership model to growth is proving it can work. But, Mr. Speaker, this is not a time to rest on our laurels. The challenge is too big, and the risk to the livelihoods of many, many people too serious. We need more action. That is why we are determined to take our economic success of the last 10 years to the next level, implementing even more priority actions to create the economic climate our residents need to succeed. Speaker, at the top of our list is finding alternatives to the number one handbrake on economic growth, and also a huge frustration to us all, Eskom. Load shedding makes me the most angry when I hear of its effects on small businesses. Businesses like Mitchell's Plain Butchery of Nawaz Sablé, who supplies quality halal meat across our peninsula and beyond, and has to take huge measures or make huge measures in order for his business to work. I have visited his business, and it's small businesses like this that really battle. For him to just keep his cold chain going while load shedding happens is a major, major issue, and it is affecting so many jobs across our province. Speaker, when stage 6 hit us on the 9th of December, it was a harsh awakening, and we have to be brave enough to admit to ourselves that we aren't in for a quick fix. For several years, we have been calling on the national government to make a number of the energy reforms which the President eventually announced in Sona last week. These are welcomed. As the first step, National needs to clarify the timelines and processes for making the opportunities that they have announced a reality. They need to move from talk to action as quickly as possible. That said, Speaker, I still have a few questions in my mind. Will municipalities be able to sell the power they produce from independent power producers back into the grid? If not, then any power produced will be for their own use, solving just a small part of the problem. The Western Cape has worked hard in recent years to develop the framework to support alternative energy. 23 of our municipalities support small-scale embedded generation. Small-scale embedded energy. We have promoted the uptake of solar PV, and we have done a large part of the groundwork required for the importation of liquefied natural gas. As a province, we are primed to take advantage of the extent of economic opportunities that the green and alternative energy presents for investment and growth. There is also unparalleled opportunity for South Africa in the global energy transition. We are fortunate, especially in the Western Cape, to have some of the best solar and wind resources in the world. And we have the ability to become the emerging market leader in renewable energy. My commitment to the people of the Western Cape is that we will work hard and fast to make maximum use of the opportunities that the President's announcements provide, so that we can see a more positive energy future in the province as soon as possible. This is our 4-point plan to date. Number 1, we will help municipalities to procure energy from IPPs. Procurement in the government space is complicated and time-consuming, so we must ensure that there is dedicated support to speed up a more robust procurement process. 2, we will increase small-scale embedded generation like solar PV across our province. The energy security game changer achieved a lot in this space, but more can still be done. Decreased reliance on the national grid is a key component of a more stable energy future. 3, we will increase the greening of government's buildings across the province. Where there is a government rooftop that can benefit from solar, it will be installed. We have already installed 17 systems on 17 of our buildings, including our agricultural head office and the Cape Teaching and Learning Institute. We have another 9 projects on the go, and municipalities across the province are being supported and encouraged to make similar investments. Number 4, we will fast-track efforts to import liquefied natural gas through Saldanha Bay and enable Eskom's Ankerlig plant to operate on LNG, rather than the much more expensive diesel that it uses at the moment. Our work has already de-risked these initiatives, and we call on the national government to move with speed to bring LNG to our industries and power plants in this province. Gas to power also makes sense in Mossel Bay. And Total is already exploring offshore gas there, and while their outcome is several years away, we are starting work now to make sure that we are able to maximize the major economic advantages that gas provides. Wind and solar resources in South Africa are so plentiful that by using only 1% of our land, with renewable energy, we could produce over 6 times the amount of energy that Eskom produces in a day. DDAT, our Economic Development Department, with the assistance of Westgrow and Green Cape, are already focusing their efforts on turning this challenging time for our province and country into opportunities by growing the green economy. And I am incredibly excited that the new established Special Economic Zone in Atlantis, right here in our province, will help to attract the investment we need to make this happen. Speaker, it is our responsibility to create an environment that is conducive for growth and jobs. An economy where small businesses are employing more and more people from their communities because they can't keep up with demand. Where these same small businesses grow with the right support to be exporters, taking our products all over the world. An economy where global investors are landing in their numbers at Cape Town International, sharing their stories with the world at just how easy it is to do business in our province. While our quest to remove red tape has already yielded results, we have to do much, much more. Since the red tape unit opened its doors in 2011, we have logged 9,183 cases with an 87% resolution rate, despite many of the issues not falling within our constitutional mandate. To give but one example, this small team, this red tape team, was recently approached by a company unable to unblock a 5 billion rand renewable energy project in the Tankwa Karoo that was held up by heritage authorization. In a time where we drastically need to take pressure off our national grid, Mr. Reuben van Vogel, and his team were ultimately able to resolve the issue and keep the project on track, helping an investment go ahead which is critical to building our energy resilience, addressing climate change, and creating green jobs. I would like to thank these officials for their efforts and dedication, especially in dealing with some customers who knock on their doors for problems generated by other spheres of government. Also, these kinds of problems often don't keep office hours, and despite this, our officials try their best to assist day and night. Based on the red tape team's impact to date, we will be dramatically scaling up so that it is able to do more for you. We are also committed to working with municipalities who want to establish their own red tape reduction units. A dedicated municipal support unit housed within the Department of Economic Development will help to ensure that these units are launched. The Invest SA one-stop shop, operated by DDAT and Wesgro, will also continue to be supported by our government because it makes it easier for businesses from around the world to invest and create jobs in our province. Then there are a couple of systemic backlogs in our economy that are hurting a large number of businesses, big and small, and these need to be addressed with urgency. That is where our war room comes in. I'm pleased to announce that we have had a very successful pilot phase. Over the period of just 100 days, a team of 43 members undertook 355 stakeholder engagements with the private sector and other key sector players to address burning impediments to growth. The results of this effort in such a short period of time was remarkable. From something as simple as introducing timed agendas to the Heritage Western Cape Committee meetings so that applicants can no longer have to wait around with their professional teams at huge expense, to secure the funds for extra staff to meet their increased caseloads. The impact of this work has already been felt. And these first results have provided more than enough impetus to embed and upscale the war room for the full term of this office. To begin with, we will continue to focus on unblocking issues in the construction and property development sector, as well as minimizing traffic congestion. We will also be looking specifically in ways to increase the conviction rate in our criminal justice system. It is imperative that criminals know that there will be consequences for their actions. Outside of the war room, but of equal importance, is our drive to bring all the necessary players together to form a task team focused on unblocking congestion at our port. Because this has such a direct negative impact on our export competitiveness, we are working full steam ahead to find solutions to fix it. And because this government is led by evidence, we will measure whether we are having a positive impact through a new and transparent Ease of Doing Business Index. This index will be a mechanism to hold ourselves, local municipalities, as well as national government departments and institutions in the province accountable to our province. Our promise of creating an enabling environment for you and your business. And this will be published for the first time in the new financial year, which starts in a couple of weeks. Finally, we will have an offer to make to President Ramaphosa. In his State of the Nation address last week, the President told us, South Africa, that he is top slicing the national budget by about 20 billion rand for programs to support youth unemployment. Well, we have a number of proven job-creating programs for the President to implement. And what I'm doing is I'm inviting him on a tour of this province to come and see some of them firsthand. On the itinerary will definitely be our youth cafes, one of which is just down the road in Eastridge. At these centers, young people without a job can access personal development training, career advice, and create and creative spaces where they are able to express themselves. I'd also like to introduce the President to some of our fully funded bursary learners studying agriculture at Elsenburg. These ambitious, bright students hold the future of our food security in their hands. And if I have to choose just one more of many programs we support, because there is only so much time in the day, I'd like to take him to the Elsie's River ICANN Centre, where they will be able to meet Luwazi. Now, I think Luwazi might be on a desk somewhere. There's Luwazi. Luwazi is a robot that was built by the robotics students at this very ICANN Centre in Elsie's River. I would have loved to have had the students here today who built that robot out of recycled material. But Minister Schaefer, they are school students, and they're at school. Yes, they're at school. Due to the huge impact of our various tech and BPO upskilling programs, we are opening up a further 1,000 spots in the coming year for interns from our communities, all of whom will be paid a working stipend while they receive training. I think I'm going to just say that again, just so people understand what I've just said. In the various tech and BPO programs or sectors of our economy, we will be focusing on another 1,000 upskilling posts. And the reason I reiterate that is because we're in Mitchell's Plain. And for me, what is really interesting to see is how the call center industry is looking at Mitchell. I wish I was able to make further announcements, but I'll leave that to the Minister when he delivers his budget speech. But of course, it'll be really great to see that we're preparing already successful initiatives by the Presidency. We would see more of our youth getting their kickstart into the economy, which is all that they need. Speaker, I have no doubt that the excitement of our young people to work to announce that we will be ramping up our first 1,000 days program. It is the first 1,000 days from conception until the age of 2 that form the foundation of a child's future. In the Western Cape, moms-to-be receive medical screening for potential health risks, as well as support to provide their babies with adequate nutrition, loving care, and opportunities for early learning. These added services ensure a healthier start to life for our little people, helping them to thrive and prosper as they grow. As we play a stronger role in delivering better health care to you, we also ask that you play a stronger role in caring for yourself and your family. The Western Cape already has the highest life expectancy in South Africa and the country's best health system. The fact that we are proud of and extremely motivated to build on, in partnership with you. Now, many of you expressed to me that you are concerned about what the National Health Insurance Bill will mean for you and your family. You are fearful that the level of care you currently receive will deteriorate. Speaker, the Western Cape Health Department manages 19 million patient visits per year. This department, which oversees over 1 million emergency centre visits and 160,000 theatre operations annually. Thank you, Minister Norma French. This year, this pioneering department, made up of world-class doctors, has performed, amongst others, or many others, a double lung transplant on a patient at Groote Schuur Hospital and a toe-to-hand transfer on a child at Red Cross Children's Hospital, an amazing hospital that offers amazing service. They have introduced cutting-edge technology which allows for patient data to be accessible from any Western Cape government health site. This technology also allows our staff to determine whether patients have defaulted on their treatment and take steps to get them back on track. Ours is a healthcare system that works. Introducing the proposed NHI will have significant impact on our ability to continue to deliver that level of care and ultimately will impact on you as the patient and as your loved ones. It will also end private health care in its current form potentially mothballing hospitals like the new or newly invested in Melamed Hospital just here in this community. This is why we do not support the unworkable, unfundable NHI bill. That would be what we would like to see from the national government instead is a commitment to strengthening the fully fund our current systems in not only health, but also in education. Speaker, as our province, we are proud of our successes in education, and there are many. We have seen improvements across the board in maths and language skills in these tests in grade 3, 6, and 9 since 2009. Our matric pass rate for 2019 improved to 82.3%. The pass rate showed significant improvement in schools in quintiles 1 to 3. Our retention rate between grades 10 and 12 also improved. This means that more of our children are staying in school and completing their basic education. Our bachelor's pass rate is the highest ever for this province, meaning more of our children are on a path to pursuing further learning opportunities. But this means nothing to you if your child has not yet been assigned a place in school for this year. Our education system is facing immense strain due to in-migration from other provinces. Despite this, the national government has cut the education department's budgets, impacting on our ability to build schools and hire teachers, a situation we call on to be reversed. Since last year's SOPA, we have opened 3 new schools, Bottersholt Primary School, Delft High, and Dyser Primary School. 2 replacement schools, Crestway and Philippi, have also been opened. Since July last year, our Department of Transport and Public Works has started work on 76 new grade R and expansion classrooms at 22 schools accommodating approximately an extra 2,800 learners. We have delivered 197 mobile classrooms to accommodate 6,895 more learners. We have commenced design work on 2 new and replacement schools and have begun construction on 5 more. And because we share your desire for your children to be able to learn and play free from fear, we will build 30 security fences at schools in high-risk locations each year for the 5 years of this term. Going forward, the Department of Transport and Public Works will be looking to work with contractors using alternative building technologies which are faster and greener, and which will allow us to replace mobile classrooms with permanent buildings. We are also looking at working with private partners to take some of the strain off the education system, either through the provision of affordable private education, collaboration schools, or donor-funded schools. I'm excited by the new ventures I see in the education space, such as the online high school recently launched by the very same South African brothers who pioneered the global online platform Get Smarter, Rob and Sam Paddock. To further improve the quality of education for our learners, we have moved ahead despite opposition in appointing a chief evaluator for the School Evaluation Authority. This body has begun its work shining a light on the quality of education provided at our schools to promote further improvement. I'm also thrilled to announce that in anticipation of the employment of the Western Cape's very own Children's Commissioner, we have made provision to fully set up this office. I am very excited that the young people of our province will very soon have a dedicated champion to protect and promote their rights. And I express my gratitude to the Chair and to the Standing Committee. Where's the Chair? There's the Chair. To the Chair and the Standing Committee for expediting this process. Speaker, during my election campaign, I saw firsthand how employees, entrepreneurs, and learners struggle to get around on board the defunct national PRASA rail system. It is no wonder that Metro Rail has come to be known as Metro Fail. In the past few years, the decline of our train system has picked up pace, with increased arson attacks stripping the service down to its bare bones. This province has put up its hand and offered to take on the management of the rail system because we know we can do a better job for you. Despite the national government's repeated rejection of our requests, we have committed ourselves to getting the central line working by any means possible. We know that its degradation has had a massive impact on communities just like this one. We have had meetings with the City of Cape Town to explore potential ways forward, but the bottom line is we need the buy-in of the national government. Over the past few weeks, we have had several very positive engagements with the administrator appointed by PRASA. And I'm also thrilled that President Ramaphosa has finally committed to doing something about the worst affected lines. On this particular promise, I am eager to see action. Just last week, our Transport Minister and his national counterpart signed the Go George deal, having worked very hard and together to unblock some of the issues delaying it. We call on the same spirit of cooperation to address the failures of Metro Rail. In the meantime, the Western Cape government, in conjunction with the city, is already proceeding with a full feasibility study on moving rail away from national government control. We still believe rail should lie with us because we have the capacity and determination to get it right for the citizens of the province. And as the quality and the reliability of our train service continues to spiral downwards, minibus taxis have become the most widely used form of public transport in the Western Cape. The taxi industry is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it is a vital asset to our people and economy. But on the other, we know that some taxis aren't safe. In order to ensure that this service is safe across the board, we intend to introduce a game-changing minibus pilot project which will use technology to monitor and improve behavior of taxi drivers. We will also be investing more in public transport infrastructure, including taxi ranks, stops and shelters, to improve the daily experience of taxi commuters. We're also clamping down on other errant road users through our ramped-up visibility and enforcement operations, which saw 21,017 car checks, 2,081 roadblocks, 1,074 drunk driving operations, and 1,007 speed operations. Speaker fatalities over the December-January period were driven down by 23%. And Speaker, zero fatalities were recorded from public transport vehicles. Minister, to you, to the HOD, to some of our traffic officials that we saw outside, and I'm sure in the room, and to all of them that are out on the road today, I really say thank you very, very much. You have made a massive difference. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity also to commend those motorists and public transport operators who obeyed the laws of our road and who considered their safety, the safety of their passengers, and the safety of other road users every time they got behind the wheel. Together, we have managed to make huge strides in this direction. We have also heard you when you've told us that sitting in traffic is affecting your ability to access opportunities, and in some cases, even impact on your job security. That is why, as mentioned, one of our 3 war room teams is interrogating our congestion pinch points. And I hope to receive their feedback on implementable solutions in the near term, and I will make this commitment that we as a government will make sure that we fund these through our budget processes. Of course, we already know that if people live closer to their places of work, traffic will decrease. That is why we are committed to delivering solutions which will create affordable housing opportunities in proximity to our economic centres. Speaker, on my very first day in office, I accepted a memorandum from a group of protesters demanding services on a piece of illegally occupied land. This complex situation, and many others equally complex, involving housing, land, and illegal occupations, continue to play themselves out in our province and indeed across our country. These invaders are making the government's job of delivering housing opportunities to those most deserving and addressing spatial biases in home ownership completely impossible. Both Woodstock Hospital and Helen Bowden mixed housing project sites are overrun by illegal occupants, many of whom were encouraged to take up their criminal action by registered NGOs, purporting to stand for land redistribution. How ironic, then, that these very organizations are driving the exact opposite outcome. The longer these sites are illegally occupied and the more costly delays we suffer, the less we'll be able to deliver. To these occupiers, I say vacate these premises so that we can build homes for those who have waited patiently for decades to receive much-deserved redress. Some might ask, why do we simply not force them out? Well, these occupiers and the organizations which support them are abusing the well-meaning laws of our country to suit their needs. The PI Act, which was originally enacted in 1998 to prevent unfair evictions, is now being used as a weapon by illegal invaders to force the government into providing them with emergency housing, effectively allowing them to jump the housing queue. Simply put, these invaders are holding the government and the long-standing housing queue beneficiaries to ransom. These are sadly not the only cases in which we are caught up in lengthy court processes. Speaker, when I became Premier, I committed to doing everything I could to resolve the issues around the Tafelberg land site. That matter has gone to court for arguing, and the court has urged parties to try and settle the matter through engagement. This government is more than happy to engage with the affected parties towards a resolution, but is going to require a process of give and take to find a solution in the best interests of the people of this province. Speaker, our Human Settlements Department is working hard to simplify and strengthen our housing database, and at the same time deliver homes to those who need them most. To make sure this happens, we have expanded the Housing Opportunity Priority Group to include backyard dwellers. This means that every time we launch a new greenfield project, backyarders will also be prioritized. Already, we are seeing this in action. In Bredasdorp, more than 60% of the qualifying beneficiaries for the 158 housing opportunities currently being created there are backyarders. The Minister of Human Settlements has also embarked on a province-wide drive to update our housing demand database. In October and November, more than 8,500 people across the province attended his sessions. The Metro Drive will start this weekend, and I urge residents interested in housing opportunities to please participate. I am also pleased that very soon you'll be able to check and update your profile, as well as view your application status via an online app which we are currently testing. Speaker, between June and December 2019, we handed over 1,144 title deeds to beneficiaries in our province, and we have many more opportunities on the way. Speaker, contractors are currently on site at the Conradi Park development, through which we will deliver 3,605 housing opportunities in Phase 1, with almost half of these earmarked for affordable housing. Sod turning for these homes, which will be close to the major transit routes, commercial, recreational, and education facilities, happened just last week. Speaker, the Founders Garden Artscape Precinct project received Cabinet's approval in April 2019, and will be developed using the same better living model employed at the Conradi Park site. Ultimately, it will create a mixed-use development in the city, incorporating social gap and market accommodation. We are currently in a process aimed at amending the land use conditions of the site, and we hope that construction will kick off before the end of 2022. Speaker, in Woodstock, at the Pine Road site, we are building 243 social housing units, with construction commencing this year. And Speaker, in the Belhar CBD, we are currently constructing 4,188 assorted residential units, including student accommodation. So far, 629 social housing units and 120 military veteran units have been completed. A further 600 low-income rental units and 1,000 FLISP units are being built as we speak. Construction on the student housing portion will begin later this year. Thank you, Minister, and the new HOD. And Speaker, and because of our focus on safety, Minister Simmers will be bringing new design and layout features into our projects. In Vlakkeland and Dal Josephat, we are already incorporating stoops into new homes, because in the past, the grannies who sat on the front stoop were the eyes and ears of their communities, keeping them safe. We are also working on safety lighting and creating more open communal areas in our developments. People can interact and get to know their neighbors. Our search for more stable housing development land continues. And Speaker, my promise to match any land made available for housing by the National Minister of Public Works, Minister De Lille, still stands. I'd like to make another offer. Allow the government of this region to take over the delivery of District 6, so that we can hand it back to the rightful owners, and we will do this quicker and better. Speaker, in this time of need of our residents, the entire Western Cape government must be bolder and do its very best to do things differently, to find new solutions. One of the things that I am passionate about is promoting culture change in the Western Cape Public Service. I want to take a moment now to tell you about Mr. David Ardendorf, the winner of the Western Cape Batupele Award for Service Excellence. David is a general assistant at the Symphony Way Community Day Centre. Doing general cleaning work, such as mopping, removing waste bins, and keeping the entrances tidy. But over time, he has taken on many more additional tasks. He checks the oxygen tanks and replaces them when they are empty. He tests the generators every week. He does handyman work and has even volunteered to be trained in the maintenance of the borehole. Mr. Ardendorf epitomizes going the extra mile. Last year, he was able to save the facility 1.7 million rand in municipal fees by consistently checking the water meter against the actual bill. And when he discovered there was an overcharge, he made sure that this was corrected, and those payments have now been put back into the account. This is the kind of ethic that I want to see across our organization. People who take pride in their work, no matter what it is. People who are eager to help, even if it is hard to do so. People who recognize that taking even one small extra step can have a major impact on someone else's life. People who want to turn this country around, one kind and helpful act at a time. On the other hand, I can really understand why people get angry with treatment they receive from authorities. I was horrified in December when I received a call to hear that one of South Africa's most prominent international young cycling stars, Nick Dlamini, had had his arm broken in an altercation with the National Sandpark staff. bringing his career trajectory to a crashing halt. No person deserves treatment like that. And I know that Nicholas is also here today, and I want to say, as an example, Nicholas, on behalf of, and it doesn't matter which government this official came from, I really want to apologize to you. And I also want to say that I see your arm is fixed. I believe you're getting on your bike again. Please do your best. We'll all be behind you if you get to the Olympics this year. Speaker, the bottom line is that even though it was not a Western Cape staff member, we want our staff to lead the way when it comes to serving you. That is why, led by the Director General of the province, we'll be taking our staff on a culture journey, embedding a set of values that we can all stand by. It is an attitude that starts with us as political leaders and the way that we interact with each other and with our clients, the public. Last year, Speaker, I spoke of building a relationship between the government and the official opposition. That is a constructive and respectful one. I've had several opportunities to meet with the Honourable Dugmore, and while some of those meetings have been robust, and sometimes we disagree, I hope to continue our conversations because together we can help our people prosper better than we can apart. Today, I reiterate that my door is open for members of the opposition parties to meet with me to discuss their concerns and the issues of the people that they represent. Cheap political point scoring is clearly designed just to benefit politicians and is not in the best interests of the public that we serve. Speaker, I have carried the same spirit of cooperation in building my relationships with national leadership and with other provinces and with municipalities. Our district mayors sit in now in our budget processes. We really are taking this new model very, very seriously on how we work together as government to make sure we deliver for the people of our cities, towns, province and country. Speaker, our Director General has had excellent engagements with the leadership of Gauteng, finding a lot of common ground and shared experiences. Last year, I also had a positive meeting with the Premier of the Northern Cape. He and some of his MECs visited us to learn about how we have digitized our medical records. This process has helped us tremendously in improving our service to patients, and we are very pleased to pass on our knowledge. Similarly, Minister Becky Clearly has called on other provinces to implement our highly effective court watching briefs program as an oversight tool to track the progress of criminal cases through the justice system. Well done, Minister and HOD and the department for this kind of work which makes a difference in our country. We have had working visits from the Civilian Secretariat of Police Service and from representatives of the Eastern Cape's Community Safety Department with whom we have shared our learnings. When you deal with the Western Cape government, you must feel like you are our top priority. And because you are our top priority, I remain steadfast in my commitment to ensure that service delivery is not held up in the name of audit compliance. Our goal is to govern with integrity, putting efficient and innovative processes in place to ease the regulatory burden on our staff. Through this recipe, the Western Cape is once again the best performer in the latest Auditor General findings. I'm also pleased that 26 out of the 30 municipalities in the province have also received unqualified audits. But as we know, good audit outcomes are not enough. One of our functions as provincial government is to support and strengthen our municipalities, to manage their own affairs. When it comes to those that don't, especially as it relates to environmental issues such as water quality, we will have no choice but to take action. We recognize that rapid urbanization factors and factors such as load shedding can impact our infrastructure. but municipalities must put risk plans in place to deal with these eventualities. We also need to make sure that we deal with corruption, and we are bolstering our local government forensic unit to do just that. Speaker, every day I come to work, I am faced with a number of complex issues that require me and the government that I lead to make tough choices and respond. Some days are easier than others, like days when I get to join residents like those in the audience today at their first Mitchell's Plain book fair. This was bringing a book fair to Mitchell's Plain that I believe is going to, over time, become one of those go-to spaces. And it really was amazing, and I want to thank Ethel Williams for doing that. Also, when I walk into a fashion studio here in Mitchell's Plain, Design 26, Soraya Williams, I think is also here today. There she is. And perhaps not sure if I must say this or not, but I will. Soraya, thank you very much. The beautiful dress that my beautiful wife is wearing was made by you here in Mitchell's Plain. Thank you very much. Also, when we come to Mitchell's Plain and I engage with entrepreneurs and people across Mitchell's Plain at the Mitchell's Plain Festival, a festival pioneered by Mr. Rosario Brown, and now on the go for more than a decade. These are a few of our amazing ambassadors that do amazing things right here in Mitchell's Plain, but not only for Mitchell's Plain, for the province and our country. So I'm pleased that they are here amongst us today, and I'm also pleased that so many community members and leaders from Mitchell's Plain are also here today. Speaker, over the past year, we have made enormous strides in addressing some of the challenges we, as South Africans and as residents of the Western Cape, face. I am proud of what we have achieved, but that much more is to be done. We will not slow down until you, the residents of this province, see and feel the progress of our delivery firsthand. Our success is your success, and your success is ours. Our job together is to build a better South Africa. We dare not fail, as our future depends on it. And for me, Speaker, success, that future success, it looks like this: a Western Cape where we are all safe, a Western Cape where we have personal opportunities to prosper, where our economy is back on track and growing, where we are healthy, where our education opens doors for us, a Western Cape where we can move about freely, where we have homes that we are proud of, a Western Cape where we have a government that we can trust and believe in, and most of all, where we have hope for our future and hope for the future of our children. Speaker, we will continue to work hard every day to deliver this vision and make it a reality for you. Speaker, I would like to also take this opportunity to first of all thank my own team, the team in the Premier's office, the team that opens the office before 6 o'clock every single morning, the team that is there until late at night, the team that is really there making sure that we offer services to you, the customer. I thank you for your dedication and for the energy and for what you put in to making a difference for me, but in this province. Speaker, I would like to thank the ministers in this cabinet for the dedication, the time you spend in helping us make the differences, or some of the differences, that I've been able to speak about today. To the heads of department, the teams that you lead, the 84,000 people in this province that you lead, I want to thank you and every single person in this province that makes a difference. To the standing committees, to the members of my caucus, but to the members of this Parliament who've been elected by the people of this province. Thank you for the role that you play in all different ways in making this a province that delivers, a province that is better. I would like to thank my family, my wife and my children, who don't get to see me that often, but thank you. You need support to be able to do this job, and I value the support that you give me. Thank you very much. Speaker, as a final word, I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to all of the people who have been involved in putting this historic event together, hosting the opening of Parliament and SOPA here in Mitchell's Plain. It was no easy task, and it took many, many pairs of hands to make it happen. I would like to extend a special thank you to the people of Mitchell's Plain for welcoming us here amongst them today. It has been an absolute pleasure to deliver this, the 2020 State of the Province Address, to you. Thank you very much.
Order. Order. Thank you, Honorable Premier, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the speech by the Premier, but I would like to recognize in our guests, which I omitted to do it earlier. I just realized in our guests we've got Mr. Deaf World, Mr. Phumelela Mapukata. He's seated right there. Will you please rise? Someone please tell him to rise next to him. There he is. I promised him that I will give him a Braille business card, Premier, so I've got it for him today. I would also like to appreciate the presence in our midst, the Miss Western Cape, the beauty of the province, and that is Miss Amber Jacobs from Paarl, Drakenstein. There she is. Thank you very much. I now recognize the Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Notwithstanding the provisions of Rule 18, I move that the next sitting of this House, scheduled for Friday, the 21st of February 2020, commences at 8 a.m., and further that the sitting of the 10th of March 2020 commences at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Honorable Premier, Honorable the Chief Whip. Are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections, agreed to. The speech by the Premier, which is the State of the Province Address, will be printed in the order paper, and members will have sight of it. Honorable members, that concludes the business for the day. I would like to make the following announcements. Honorable members and guests, in terms of Rule 41, I request you to remain standing in your places whilst the procession leaves the chamber. No one must move. No one must move. So guests must remain seated in their places, and members will leave immediately after the procession. Guests are also invited to a lunch. It's a light luncheon at the Orion Church International, and officials of Parliament will guide you to the church. Members must please note that the proceedings for tomorrow, as the Chief Whip indicated, will be at 8 a.m. in the morning. Non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations in general, and other community organizations who were invited to today's program will be present here tomorrow. If you have not been informed, you are invited tomorrow. And the reply to the Premier State of the Province address will take place at this very venue. And on that note, thank you very much. The House is adjourned. Thank you. Please rise.
We'd like to request all guests to please be seated for a small announcement.
Okay, sure. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, we'll do that now. Okay,